the message or the title which we started with last week is Blessing and Curse. Last week we had part 1 of it, and I did mention some biblical chapters and verses or Bible passages like Leviticus 26, 1 to 13, Leviticus 26, 14 to 40, Deuteronomy 28, 1 to 14, Deuteronomy 28, 15 to 68, Deuteronomy 27, verse 26, Exodus 21 to 17. In all these passages, Yahweh pronounced blessings, Yahweh pronounced curses, and he asked us to choose which one that we want to follow. Follow the path of blessings or follow the path of curses. Now, part 1 dealt with the issue of identifying the problem of those who succumb to worshiping something else, whether it is wood, whether it's stone, whether it's idol, whatever one will call it. So those people are into what is called curse. They are into affliction. They are into trouble. Now, they are into what is called hatred. People hate them, and they themselves possess hatred in their heart because they have gone off course, off way. And good thing hardly come their way. And when it does come, it doesn't last. It will just fizzle out. They wallow in affliction, in persecution, in all manner of troubles. And they are always cut off either by sword, war, hunger, famine, disease, or whatever that is evil. Evil follows them. The Bible says evil will slay the wicked. Now, that is cause for those who will never or who will not want to identify with Yahweh, or who ordinarily identify with Yahweh, but they are partial in serving him. They are neither here nor there. So they are in trouble. So the message of last week did point out specific Bible portions or Bible passages that tell clearly the suffering or the trouble such people are into. Now, let's be clear here. What are we going to look at in part 2 of blessing and curse? We want to look at who is God. We want to look at what is idol. Because if you look at the whole of the scriptures, Old Covenant, so to speak, which today we call New Testament, the major message in the Bible as a whole is about worship. Who do you worship? Who do you serve? With all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. Now, Yahweh chose a particular people called Israel or Israelites. From Abraham to Isaac, Jacob, and their offspring, their descendants, at a point went to Egypt as Yahweh told Abraham. And having stayed there for a long period of time, he brought them out after they suffered and suffered. Why did they suffer? Why did they go into trouble, into hatred, into affliction, into persecution, into slavery. Why were they enslaved? Because they left Yahweh and followed the worship of Egypt, which is God. Now, in this world, is either somebody is worshiping Yahweh or the person is worshiping the usurper, the adversary, the one that opposes Yahweh. And the head of that opposition, because there are many, all those fallen angels, they organize themselves as a force to confront Yahweh. So their head is called God today. It's called God. Bible is clear about that. So in this world, you have two phenomenal powers. One is the creator of heaven and earth. He doesn't share his power. He doesn't share the word he created with anybody. But when Satan decided to rebel against him and said, no, he will not serve him, he will not obey, he will not listen to his word, he will not keep to his commandments, then he became an opposer. He became adversary. Then when he was cast down from heaven where he had his place, when he was cast down into this world, what did he do? He took over everything, deceived mankind, including the first man, Adam, and the wife, Eve. And they fell. And their failure cut across, their sin cut across all, including animals, including vegetations, including the waters and everything in them, including everything in the heavens out there. That is the heavens of the earth. So everything failed, and all are decaying, are dying, according to the word of Yahweh in book of Romans. Now, when the Israelites came out from Egypt, eventually Yahweh, by his mercy, delivered them without recounting how they had departed and worshipped the idol of Egypt. Because it was a promise that Yahweh made with Abraham, with the fathers, that he will deliver them and he will bring them back to that land. So what he promised was what he fulfilled. Got a point when they were so devastated, when they were nearly cut off, hardship was killing them. Now Yahweh rescued them. Through the wilderness experience, they were taught for 40 years, they were taught the way of Yahweh. They were shown, they were told what they're going to be. Yahweh used his word to refine them, to remodel them, to reposition them, to give them the kind of behavior, the kind of character, the kind of attitude they should possess, so that they will possess the manner, the character of Yahweh. But only few took that on board. Of the old, only few of the elders, of the adults. Then the children were literally the ones that Yahweh took into the land with the few elders. Then when they got into the land, they were struggling. Yahweh said when they get into that land, they should not worship the idols which Satan created. And it was, that was done across the world. Satan has his idol across the world called religion. He used religion to create idols, and through those idols, he take worship. He seek worship through the idols he created. So, as a result, all men bow to Satan. All men who refuse to listen, to bow to Yahweh's instruction, to listen to Yahweh's ways, to bow to the devil. Israel in the land, it was tug of war. They found it difficult to continue to follow Yahweh's instructions. Now, let's again read Joshua chapter 24 to remind us and to see how these people really were struggling, and how Joshua, who was their leader, found it even difficult to continue to hold them. And he had to give this message as a validatory message, as the last word, so to speak, that he gave to them before he passed on. And he mentioned something that was striking. He did tell them that they will not serve Yahweh in that land because of the character and manner they acquired. From where? From Egypt. The lifestyle of Egypt, worshiping of idols, all manner of idols. Let's hear Joshua. Joshua 24, I read from verse 14. Now, therefore, fear Yahweh. He was talking to his people, Israelites. Serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods. Did you hear that? This has been the issue. This has been the problem of the entire world. The world we live today, knowingly or unknowingly, majority of them do not understand or recognize that there is this power called God, who made himself God of their life and positioned himself as if he is the creator of heaven and earth. This is who Yahweh is warning every human being. There are prophets warning every human being. Yeshua, when he came, he warned every human being, even the disciples, up to today, warning every human being, never to bow to God or to the Lord, because it is of origin from Nimrod. From Nimrod. Is from rebellion of the ancient people who carved out an idol out of Satan worship. Satan deceived them, and they imparted that to their children, and threw it into the world up to today. Every eyes has been on the worship of this power called Satan. Here, Joshua was frank, and he was telling them what they should do. Put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the river and in Egypt. Other side of the river is Euphrates, and that tells us about Mesopotamia, that tells us about Babylon, that tells us about the people of Ur, where even Abraham dwelt before Yahweh moved him out. So he's reminding Joshua here, he's reminding his people never to go back to Babylon, never to go back to Ur, never to return to that Euphrates area, because what they serve is God or gods. Because Satan plus his demons plus his spirits and all that align themselves with him are called gods. They are gods. Serve Yahweh. He told them clearly who they will serve. Serve Yahweh. Verse 15. And if it seems evil to you to serve Yahweh, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether those gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites, the ones in Canaanites, or Canaan, or the Canaanites, in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve Yahweh. 16. So the people answered and said, far be it from us that we should serve or forsake. Far be it from us that we should forsake Yahweh to serve gods. For Yahweh our Yah is he who brought us out, who brought us and our fathers up out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, who did those great signs in our sight and preserved us in all the way that we went and among all the people through whom we passed. 18. And Yahweh drove out from before us all the people, including the Amorites who dwelt in the land. We also will serve Yahweh, for he is our Father. 19. But Joshua said to the people, listen carefully what Joshua replied to these people who said they will serve Yahweh. You cannot serve Yahweh, for he is a holy Yahweh. Was he rejecting what they said? No. Was he cursing them? No. Was he undermining them? No. Because he's been a witness right from Egypt through the wilderness into the land. He had noticed how they were following, how they were obeying the limit they had in terms of not forthcoming, not wholeheartedly, not giving their heart, their soul, their strength, their being to Yahweh. They were partial, they were weak, they were neither here nor here. Today they will serve Yahweh, next day they will go for another, to the adversary, to the fallen angels, to those gods. That was what they were doing. As a result, Joshua knew the implication. Joshua understood that doing so, serving Yahweh without one's whole heart, will lead to Yahweh's chastisement. Because Yahweh is a jealous Yah. The other time I told you, note that phrase. Yahweh says, I am a jealous Yahweh. So Joshua understood that Yahweh is a jealous Yah. He will not pardon them. He will not forgive them. In as much as they continue to offend, continue to sin, continue to serve him, without their whole heart. Sunday, one day, Yahweh will say, enough. Yahweh does not hold somebody forever or pursue somebody forever or cajole somebody to worship him or, preach and preach and preach day in, day out. At a point, he will stop. At a point, he will discard the person and face or choose another person or other people. Now, Joshua continued, Yahweh is a jealous Yah. He will not forgive your transgressions nor your sins. If you forsake Yahweh and serve foreign gods, then he will turn and do you harm and consume you after he has done you good. In that land, Yahweh did them good. Remember, he told them, the land you are going to inherit is land that flows with milk and honey. That is land that is fertile. That land that yields, increase and multiply whatever that is dropped in it. It's a land that flourishes. It's a land that anybody will love to live in and, enjoy all the produce, all that comes out of it. Verse 21. And the people said to Joshua, no, but we will serve Yahweh. So Joshua said to the people, you are witness against yourselves that you have chosen Yahweh for yourselves to serve him. And they said, we are witnesses. Now, therefore, he said, put away the foreign gods. He repeated this again, which are among you, and incline your heart, incline your heart to Yahweh, the Yah of Israel. And the people said to Joshua, Yahweh, our Father, we will serve, and his voice we will obey. I mean, this is as it is recorded in the covenant, at least in the 10 Commandments. Yahweh called us to serve him with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our strength, with all our being. In Shammah, Deuteronomy chapter 6, the same thing is recorded there. And these people sort of repeated it. They will serve. Joshua cried out and said it openly. But they said, Joshua, you don't know us. We will serve Yahweh even beyond, even you don't understand what you are going to do now. We will increase. We will level up. We will do more than you're expecting. We will serve Yahweh. Now, Joshua said, okay, we're going to put it in record. We're going to write it down. And a witness must be sought. I think Joshua sought for a witness. Let's go on. Now, if you continue with Joshua 24, carry on up to verse 27, you will see where Joshua took stone, wrote on the stone all that he discussed with them, particularly that they will serve Yahweh and not God. So he wrote it down and he said, this stone will be a witness between you and he himself and Yahweh. That this day you agreed to serve Yahweh and not gods. Now that was done. But now let's look at what Moses even told them in the wilderness. Deuteronomy chapter 30, 1 to 10. Now it shall come to pass when all these things come upon you, because if they will not serve Yahweh, something will come upon them. Trouble, persecution, affliction, sword, war. Enemy will eat them up, eat them raw. The blessing and the curse which I have said before you, and you call them to mind among all the nations where Yahweh your father drives you, and you return to Yahweh your father and obey his voice according to all that I command you today, you and your children with all your heart and with all your soul, that Yahweh your father will bring you back from captivity and have compassion on you and gather you again from all the nations where Yahweh your father has scattered you. If any of you are driven out to the farthest part and under the heaven, from there Yahweh your father will gather you, and from there he will bring you. Then Yahweh your father will bring you to the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. He will prosper you and multiply you more than your fathers, and Yahweh your father will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants to love Yahweh your father with all your heart and with all your soul, that you may live. Verse 7. Also, Yahweh your father will put all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you, who persecuted you, and you will again obey the voice of Yahweh and do all his commandments which I command you today. Yahweh your father will make you abound in all the work of your hand, in the fruits of your body, in the increase of your livestock, and in the produce of your land for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over you for good, and he rejoiced as he rejoiced over you, over your fathers, if you obey the voice of Yahweh your father to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law or Torah. And if you turn to Yahweh your father with all your heart and with all your soul. Now, he went on to tell them to choose who they will serve. And beside that, choosing means they will have life. And if they will not choose Yahweh to have life and good, and eventually they choose to serve God, he says they will die, and evil will follow them. Let me read that verse 15. See, I have set before you today life and good, death and evil, in that I command you today to love Yahweh your father, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, his statutes, and his judgments, that you may live and multiply, and Yahweh your father will bless you in the land which you go to possess. But if your heart turns away so that you do not hear and are drawn away and worship gods and serve them, I announce to you today that you shall surely perish. You shall not prolong your days. Now, between Joshua and Moses, the instruction was clear. The instruction to abide to Yahweh, obey him, honor him, serve him. If you do so, you will have life. Good things will follow you. Yahweh will fight your battle. Yahweh will deliver you from every persecution, every affliction, every trouble. Yahweh will make sure that they wouldn't even come unto you. Where they come, Yahweh will stand before you to make sure that you are freed. But if you rebel, if you resist, then there'll be trouble. Now, Joshua told them when they got into the land that they will not stay there. Yahweh will kill them and destroy them, and the remnant will not, the remnant that will leave will be scattered, will be swept away. Now, this is what Moses stated in Deuteronomy chapter 30, that at the end of the day, Israel, they are going to be scattered into the Gentile world. And Yahweh did. Yahweh scattered them. According to the prophecies of old, Yahweh scattered them. And that scattering is where they are up to today. They are still in the scattered lands of the world, the Gentile world, wherever they are today, worshiping what? Wood and stone. Deuteronomy chapter 32, he did tell them that they are going to serve gods, even new gods in the Gentile world. I hope that is clear. Not that they are going to serve Yahweh, because they lost Yahweh in that land, in the land of Israel. They lost Yahweh, and Yahweh withdrew. Yahweh, the Bible says Yahweh hid himself, and up till now, Yahweh is still hiding himself, except the time he opened, there was kind of giving them grace, the opportunity to receive, to have Yeshua, but they rejected him, and they killed him. And Yeshua, when Yahweh resurrected him, had to ascend into heaven, and he's still there, waiting to come back. By the time he'll be coming back will be when the world will be thrown upside down, so to speak. When the Israelites will be chastised everywhere they find themselves in the world, when they will be in that very trouble that Yahweh wanted to avoid. That very persecution, that very sword he wanted to remove from them. The world will be against them, will go against them heavily. It has been like that all along, but in this letter there is going to be serious. And the scripture says that Israelites are going to be tried, are going to also face the trial of the world. And there will be great tribulation at that time. And finally, there will be wrath of Yahweh. So what is ahead of humanity is terrible. Why? It is because of worship of God or gods. Brethren, the Bible presents to us that the problem, the trouble that humanity is going through today is as a result of worshiping the God. Now, worshiping God or gods is the most serious and deadly sin. It's capital sin. It's sin that overpass and override every other sin. All sins are sin. And every sin, sets out punishment to those who sinned. Every sin must be punished. Every sin one commits must be punished. But the sin of worshiping another, the sin of worshiping idol, anything that one is worshiping is idol. We are going to explain that. And this is where people do not understand when they are worshiping, when they are observing, when they are following, when they put their faith in a particular being or deity, they don't understand. They don't know the difference, they don't know the meaning, and they don't know what they are doing. And to those who the scripture try to draw their attention to it, they are adamant, because they think if anything goes, at the end of the day, Yahweh is so gracious. By his grace, they will also be saved, or, be given the leverage to enter into the kingdom. But that is not true. Idolatry, which I do call idolization. Idolatry is the most wicked, most evil, most dangerous, most corrosive. It is contemptuous. It's hateful sin that anyone will commit on this earth. It is awful to fall into sin of idolatry. It's terrible, brethren. If one is into idolatry, the person doesn't know what he's doing to himself, to his life. The person doesn't know that he's erasing himself from the Creator that has his breath or his life. Idolatry is sin of provocation. It is like virus. It eats the flesh. It eats the skin of the individual, even the bones, even the marrows, even the blood. It destroys. It brings perpetual punishment by death to those who observe, worship idols. Worshipping idol unknowingly and repenting from it can be forgiven the individual. But knowingly hearing about idol and remaining in worshiping of idol, to such person, his sins will not be forgiven. Anybody who indulge, anybody who has anything to do with idolatry and refuse to hear, to listen to the word of Yahweh, to come out from idol, said, little children, come out. Do not do idol. Come out from idol. But I tell you that the more people are warned, the more they are enticed, the more they are ensnared, the more they are eaten up, the more their hearts swell to worship idol or to indulge in idol worship. It has taken long, over 2,600 years and counting. Israelites were scattered all over the world. The major reason is because of idol worship. That is the major reason. And today, religion has covered the earth. Indoctrination of religion introduced human beings to God worship. And this is where the subject matter again, idolatry, come in. What is Yahweh telling us to do? What is he asking us we must do? Flee from every appearance of idol. Flee from everything that connotes idol. Flee from everything that will push one into idolatry. Now, who is God? In Christianity and other monotheistic religions, God is the creator. Listen carefully. In Christianity and other monotheistic religions, that is, religions that profess one God, Christianity inclusive, they believe that God is the creator and the ruler of the universe and the source of all moral authority, that he is the supreme being. Is that true? This is opposite what Moses, Joshua told Israel. This definition does not represent the biblical meaning of the creator. Rather, it refers to the creature, God. God is creature or creation of Yahweh. God or angels are the same. Either you call them God or you call them angels, they are the same. Designated as sons of Yahweh or children of Yahweh. The name God is seen by Christians as the Father, Lord, Jehovah, Almighty, Supreme Being, etc. and etc. Christianity believes that God is the creator and should be worshipped. The Christian view of God does not capture the only creator of heavens and earth, Yahweh, who is higher than all his creatures. So Christianity do not know Yahweh, neither do they know Yahshua. Rather, they hold to the adversary, whose identity is God, Lord. And the Lord comes from Baal. The meaning of Baal is the Lord. So this religion, Christianity, holds to God and the Lord, which Yahweh and all the prophets told Israel, run away from God worship, run away from Lord worship. Worship Yahweh. Worship Yahweh and only Yahweh. Yahweh's name can never be changed. Some may say, oh, that God or Lord is the same Yahweh. It's not Yahweh. Lord or God is not Yahweh. It's not, doesn't sound the same, doesn't, replicate the same spelling or the same, doesn't connote the same meaning. Yahweh says, I am Yahweh. I change not. That his name doesn't change. So why would you say, can you change your name? Can you remove one letter from your name? It will never be your name again. And it will never have the same meaning again, no matter how you want to bend it. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. Moses and Aaron and Joshua and Gideon, all of them persuaded Israelites never to worship God. But they insisted they must twist and they must add, they must bring in what they think is God to worship. And they worshiped God. And they were swept away. Today, they are not in their land because of worship of God. Number two, in certain other religions, God is depicted as a superhuman being or spirit worshipped as having power over nature or human fortunes, e.g., a deity, a moon god, for instance, sun god, which Nimrod worshipped and had the people of old in his time to worship, and they were corrupted with God worship. The Hindu god Vishnu, they worship the god called Vishnu. So these superhumans, they can be judges, they can be even kings. In certain cases, they turn themselves as something to be worshipped. Idol. They make themselves idol. Now, in Hindu religion, they regard God as deity, goddess, divinity, immortal, or creator. Now, in other circumstances, God is viewed as a greatly admired or influential personality. He has little time for the fashion victims for whom he is a god. In this scenario, anyone that is highly influential can be described as God. For instance, kings, pope, emperors. In those days, popes were worshipped. Anything that subject himself or make himself or seek worship becomes idol. And in that circumstance, one could say they are gods. So in those days, kings were worshipped, popes were worshipped, emperors were worshipped, multi-billionaires. Today, many of the celebrities are worshipped. Also, kings are worshipped. High-powered ministers or prime ministers or kings are worshipped even today. Today, many human beings have made themselves idols. Worship, the meaning of worship stems from the object or the subject or the individual. And if one is not careful, one will subject himself or cause himself to be worshipped unknowingly. One can make himself object of worship even when he claims he's not worshiping anything, but he himself has become idol to be worshipped. Now, what did Yahweh say? Did he ask us to worship God? No. Did he ask us to worship idols? No. What did he ask us to do? He asked us to worship he and only him himself. Only him himself. Only Yahweh himself. We must worship. Now, it is speaking about blessing and curse. Let's look at worship. What is worship? Worship is expression of reverence or adoration for a deity. An individual can make himself object of worship, as I said. People, whether business tycoon, whether kings, whether emperors, whether, whoever out there that has made himself an object that is seeking worship, seeking glory and honor from human beings, that person makes himself object of worship, an idol. That person becomes an idol for people to worship. So Yahweh says, worship him and him alone, only. Worship only Yahweh. That is what the commandment says. Yahweh commanded, do not bow or worship idols or gods. Don't worship gods, don't worship angels, don't worship human beings. Human beings are created a little lower than the angels, the Bible told us. Human beings are created as gods, as the angels are, but they are a little lower than these angels. That's what the Bible said. Idols, we must never bow to idol. What constitutes idol is image or images, objects, pictures. This can be in wood, stone, river, animal, even human beings or angels, fallen angels. All these constitute what is called idols. And that is what Yahweh saw. He knew this before he called Abraham, even Noah, and told him anything about idol, anything that seek worship. Remember, Satan sought worship, even from Adam and Eve, unknown to them. When he asked them to turn themselves to idol, when he made them to acknowledge that they are gods, that was when they became idol themselves. and they became either object or subject to worship object, or subjects that on themselves live as idols. The Bible again says, flee from every appearance of idol. Now continue. Let us break this down a bit. Let's break it down. Exodus chapter 20, verses 3 to 6 is where we are going to posit in breaking it down. Now, we are going to read what Yahweh commanded Israel and how they will not worship God or idol. He said to them in verse 3, Exodus 20, verse 3, you must not have any God but me. You, I, everyone that want to have life, want to see good, want to receive blessings, must never have any God, any. That is inclusive of human beings, because human beings were created a little lower than the angels, so they are gods, sons of Yahweh. So whether human beings, whether fallen angels, whoever, do not worship such. That is number one decree, number one law. You must not make for yourself an idol. See, the word idol comes in here. Yahweh used it, and he used it knowingly that this, whatever that is called idol, is what has made himself or herself or the subject to be worshipped. Whatever that has sought to be worshipped becomes idol. You must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea. You must not bow down. He mentioned what is called image there. And this is inclusive of objects, pictures, anything at all in this earth, heaven or earth. They should not worship them. Whether in the sea, they should not worship them. You must not bow down. Bowing down is form of worship as well. Do not bow down. Do not worship. You must not bow down to them or worship them. For I, Yahweh, your Father, am a jealous Yah who will not tolerate your affection for any gods. Once you have affection to worshiping anything, gods, idols, then the person has fallen into what is called idolatry. He continued, I lay the sins of the parents upon their children. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations of those who reject me. Anybody that follow after God's idols rejects Yahweh. Exodus 20, verses 4 to 6. This is key, because Yahweh knew that his people are going to face the worship of God, the Lord. And he made this pronouncement. At times, somebody will say, oh, what is God is, or gods in this sense, is wood, stone, river, all those inanimate objects. Brethren, before you even get to all those, the God worship begins from what demands worship. What demands worship? What happened when now somebody is saying something is an idol? Is a situation where a particular subject has called or sought from another to bow to him or to worship him or her. That becomes idol. And the one worshiping has gone into idolatry. I guess you know the difference. So spot that difference. At what point does something become idol? At what point does something become an object that one worship, and either he call it an idol or God or gods? Exodus, let's continue with Hosea chapter 13, 4 to 8. What did Yahweh say? I have been Yahweh, your father, ever since I brought you out of Egypt. Continue to remind them who they are, where they were suffering, where they were in captivity, where they were enslaved, how he brought them out from there, and how now he wants them to be living. Forget your old past. Forget your escapades. Forget your stupidity. Now turn to me. Give me your heart. Give me your soul. Give me your strength, your being, your might, and serve Yahweh. Then Yahweh will forgive you, and Yahweh will call you son and daughter. But if you continue to do what to serve God, then you're in trouble. Let me read it again. I have been Yahweh your father ever since I brought you out of Egypt. You must acknowledge no God. Do not acknowledge. Do not submit. Do not recognize. Do not bow. Do not worship God, but me. That is what Yahweh said there. But me, Yahweh. For there is no other Savior besides me. Hosea 13, 4 to 8. If you continue up to verse 8, he reminded them of how they were suffering in Egypt and how he brought them out. And he told them, if you will continue to go after gods, you will die, you will perish, you will be eliminated, you will become chaff, you become dust. Exodus 34 verse 14. You must worship no gods. For Yahweh, whose very name is jealous, is Yahweh, who is jealous about his relationship with you. Exodus 34 verse 14. Exodus 23 verse 13, he said, pay close attention to all my instructions. You must not call on the name of any gods. Do not even speak their names. Did you hear that? Do not speak in their name. In praise, in worship. Maybe in reading the Bible, you are pronouncing their names. No, don't do that. Yahweh said, don't do that. Yahweh is jealous. And Yahweh, who is a jealous Yah, will take vengeance. If you continue, if you will insist in disobeying his instructions. Now, here comes deception. Satan wired in deception in human life. If you read Genesis chapter 3, verse 4 and 5, you will see where fallen Lucifer turned himself as if he is that true angel, but supreme. And he went to Adam and Eve through the woman Eve, told the man, look, what are you doing? Why are you still submitting to Yahweh? Cross over, and you will find out that you will not die. That Yahweh had told you that you will no longer die. You will now be God. You will now be a being of yourself. You don't worship anybody, nobody will trouble you again. You will be free agents. Let's read verse 4 and 5. Then the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die. For God, that is what they put down in the English Bible, but that is Yahweh. For Yahweh, he's referring to Yahweh here. For Yahweh knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened. You will be like God. You'll be like God. You will now be the owner of yourself. You will now be idol of yourself. Nobody will trouble, nobody will worry you. You will become the champion. Since you live forever, why would you submit to somebody? Why would you submit to another? You will be God. You'll be idol. This is where idolatry begins. Knowing good and evil. And the worst thing is that he drew him to the other side, which Yahweh didn't want Adam and Eve to know. Evil, wickedness, sin, iniquity. Yahweh didn't want Adam and Eve to go that way. Yahweh wanted him to follow after good, after righteousness, which is his character. But here Satan introduced him into not only good, but to know evil as well. Bad, wickedness. And there, man swallowed evil. And that is why today, in human beings, you see human beings operating in two ways: good, evil, bad, good, righteous way, evil way, godly way, ungodly way. That is the making of Satan. At the Garden of Eden, man was twisted. This is deception. Man was deceived. And ever since till today, Revelation chapter 12, verse 9 says, the whole world has been deceived by this Satan. Satan deceived the whole world. And this Satan is what the Bible also called God. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4. It says, Satan, the God of this world. He is the God of this world. He veiled, he blindfolded all human beings, seared the heart of men, that they will not perceive, understand the gospel, the good news that was brought to us, that was given to us. Even the good news of giving us Yeshua to deliver us from this realm, from this mess, and to restore us back to the land. That is the good news. Declaration of Yahweh's name and Yeshua, who is our Savior, our Messiah, and showing to us where we are going, the very land that flows with milk and honey. That is the gospel. That is the good news. That is what is given to us. That is what we are to declare. Satan blinded us from that. Today, what do they preach? Oh, that Jesus is going to take them to heaven. Another religion preach one heaven or the other, which is lies. Yeshua will be coming down from heaven to restore those who receive Yahweh, those who were baptized in his name. Restore them into that land and now cleanse the earth, rule the earth, and make the earth glorious place like heaven. And in the end, the earth and the heaven will be one. People are trying to, check into heaven. They are working out how they will even sneak into heaven. Someday, one day, heaven and earth will be one. There will be no question of whether you take passport. You will be children of Yahweh, sons and daughters of Yahweh. You will interact with angels. Angels will interact with you. We will be one with Yahweh as children. Now, let's go on. Idol. Let us look at idol. Remember, we are looking at idol here and God, and how people are mixing up what is God, which they worship, and God or gods, which they say they don't worship. So whether God or gods, they are doing the same thing because they have been swallowed by idol. They have been indoctrinated into idolatry. Having been indoctrinated into idolatry, everything which particularly the subject that had fallen, the God that had fallen, become idol they worship. So whether God in capital, full capitals, or God in small letter as entity of wood and stone, rivers, and whatever that they think is inanimate object, all become the same thing. God is God. Do not worship God, whether of wood or stone or animal or angels or human beings. Do not worship, because that is not Yahweh. God is the adversary of Yahweh. In that sense, the righteous gods, which are the righteous angels, live with Yahweh. I'm trying to make it as clear as we can understand. Please follow me. Let's look at idol. Nothing becomes object of worship or idol until it seeks worship. We're trying to explain what idol is. Anything remains what it is until that receives worship. When anything, whatever element, whatever in this world, whether in heaven, on the earth, or beneath the earth, or the waters, if one bows to such, that will become idol. So Satan and all his angels seek worship because they are fallen angels, they are rebellious angels. So as they seek worship from human beings or even from angels, the 1/3 of angels were deceived by Satan. So they worship Satan. So Satan becomes their head, and who, they worship. And Satan himself cajole human beings, deceive human beings to follow suit. Up to today, human beings are worshiping Satan. So Satan made himself idol. And this is where they put the G, big letter G, or the entire capitalized God. And they said he is the creator. No, it's not the creator. The creator is the one that is screaming, do not bow to God. Do not bow to this God that made himself idol to worship. So, in as much as people submit themselves, put their feet, their knees down, bow to him, worship him, praise him, or open their mouth in a way to call his name, to praise his name, which Yahweh said, do not open your mouth to mention God. So if people does that, if someone will not listen to Yahweh's word, the person is going to be cut off. So after creation, angels and mankind were commanded never to seek worship, because if they do, they will put themselves in position of idol, something to worship. And Yahweh says the end result will be destruction. 2, talking about idol. All fallen angels and human beings who seek worship. You see, seeking worship is key to what we are discussing here about knowing who is idol and how idols zero into God that is worshipped. All fallen angels and humans who seek worship turn themselves to idols, which Yahweh forbid. 3, judgment has been pronounced. The wrath and the anger of Yahweh await those who violate his commandments. These are called the wicked. Those who violate Yahweh's instruction never to worship gods or bow to idols. Anyone that does that is called wicked. And Yahweh says, such a person shall perish. Because you can't be worshiping idol or gods, and at the same time, you say they are worshiping Yahweh. Yahweh wouldn't even take it. Yahweh wouldn't take it at all. Because he said he will not share his glory with idols or any other or gods. He will never. That is his instructions. Now, let's look at this God again. Fallen angels or gods, e.g., Lucifer and his fallen angels, made themselves idols. As soon as they left Yahweh, forsook Yahweh, and stopped worshiping Yahweh, they began to seek worship themselves. They begin to open space for human beings to fall onto them. Fallen Lucifer and other fallen angels seek worship, thus making themselves the idol which Yahweh says they should not. Fallen Lucifer became the god of this world, as we read in 2 Corinthians 4 verse 4. Fallen angels, demons, spirits seek worship from men, thus making themselves gods. Whether God of capital letter or gods of small letter. Fallen gods, angels, use images, objects, pictures as symbol to receive worship, praise, glory. And this is why Exodus 20 is very, very crucial. Verses 4 to 5. Yahweh said, do not make yourself of any image, of any object, of any picture, or any symbol in this earth, in the heavens, or beneath the waters. Do not. Do not. If you do that, you have created trouble for yourself. So today, we see people bowing to images, pictures. In Roman Catholic, they bow to pictures of Mary, pictures of what they carve out as the sun, picture of what they carve out as the God even. So in all, we see people worshiping wood, cross. They put it in the altar. They put it in the places of their worship, inside and outside. And people go to those wood, the cross, and bow and worship. People go to the image of Jesus. Yahweh said, no image will be with you. No image. People go to those images and bow. Whether wood, whether stone, whether human picture, Yahweh forbid it. And in as much as human beings continue to go that path, Yahweh says, visitation is coming. Visitation is coming. Yahweh remains the only creator. Yahweh remains the only existent Father. Yahweh remains the only eternal Father. Yahweh remains the only supreme being. Yahweh remains the all-powerful Yahweh. He is the Almighty. He is the Father of all creatures. The Book of Covenant reveals that God is different from Yahweh. Yahweh is the creator. Yahweh created God or gods and human beings. Yahweh is the creator of heaven and earth and everything that is created. Yahweh is the creator of everything that is seen or unseen. He is the Father of all. He does not share his power, praise, glory, and praise with his creatures. Yahweh is the creator of gods and even Adam, the man Adam, who Yahweh says he was created a little less than the angels, a little lower than the gods. So human beings are created. In the book of Psalm 82, he called human beings gods. And the interpretation there is the rulers, the judges. But they are a little lower than the angels in heaven. So would one worship them? They have turned themselves to idols, objects to be worshipped. And as a result, They have fallen. Besides Yahweh, there is no other. He created the angels and called them gods. Gods means sons of Yahweh or children of Yahweh. Mankind is also called gods, e.g., judges, rulers, and people in higher offices, but are created a little lower than the angels. Psalm chapter 8, verse 5, and Psalm 82, verses 1 and 6. John chapter 10, 34 and 36. In our recent messages, videos, they are all explained how human beings created little lower than angels are called gods, sons of Yahweh. Yahweh is spirit being. Yahweh is not man. Yahweh is not God. Yahweh is not flesh. He is spirit. He is self-existent one. He is not created. He remains the same. I am who I am. Exodus 3, verse 4. Sorry, Exodus chapter 3, verse 14. His name is Yahweh from generation to generation. That is what he said we should call him. From one age to another, his name remains Yahweh. He does not change. Yahweh says, I am Yahweh, I do not change. Malachi 3, verse 6. He commands that his name, glory, or praise should not be given to idols or others, which include deity, God, goddesses, men, whoever, whatever they are, whether rivers, whether animals, should not bow to them. Some or most religions bow to cows, beasts, bow to rivers, bow to crocodile. They are gods. All those things have been subjected to be worshipped, made as idols, which are referred to gods. So they are worshipped by human beings. Yahweh says no. Isaiah 52, verse 6, Yahweh says, I am Yahweh. That is my name. My glory I give to no other, not God, nor my praise to idols. Never. Malachi 3, verse 6, I am Yahweh, and I do not change. That is why you descendants of Jacob are not already destroyed. Yes, the children of Israel will not be destroyed. Yahweh made a covenant with the fathers that he will not destroy them, inasmuch as they continue to worship him. Worship who? One name. That one name that does not change. If Yahweh had changed his name, or any time his name is changed, if the children of Israel worship something different, it will not be their fault, because Yahweh has changed his name. That is what Yahweh is telling us, because his name remains perpetually from generation to generation, does not change. Worship no other. Continue to worship him. He does not change. Get that straight on. Yahweh does not, if Yahweh's name change, you can worship anything else. But Yahweh said, because his name can never change, remain there to worship him. Then if his name remains constant and is constant as it is, and he worships something else, the person will be destroyed. Exodus 3, verse 15. Yahweh also said to Moshe, say this to the people of Israel, Yahweh, Yah of your fathers, your ancestors, Abraham, Yahweh of Isaac, and Yahweh of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. Remember, generations of human beings hasn't ended. So, in as much as generations had continued, we must not leave that name, for that name is the name that must be worshipped. It's a perpetual name. Jeremiah 16, verse 21. Therefore, I will teach them. This time I will teach them my power and my might. That's my name. Then they will know that my name is Yahweh. Jeremiah 33, 2-3. This is what Yahweh says. He who made the earth, Yahweh who formed it to create it, he whose name is Yahweh, call to me and I will answer you. and I will tell you great and mighty things which you do not know. Who do we call? Who do we praise? Who do we worship? Yahweh. When we call him, he revealed to us things we do not know. He showed us those secret things. He revealed to us those things that have been covered up. Those things that they have even added and subtracted in the scriptures, he will show to us. That is his promise to us. And he blesses you because you worship him. Amos chapter 9, verse 6. Yahweh's home reaches up to the heavens, while its foundation is on the earth. Can you see that? People want to get into heaven because they say they want to be raptured. Yahweh says, don't worry yourself. The earth and the heaven, one day someday will be one. I mean, those in heaven, the children that are here and in heaven, they will be, I mean, that is the word of Yahweh. Remember what Jacob saw in Genesis before he went to Laban, where he was resting as he was running away. He rested that night, and a ladder was let down from heaven to the earth. That is what Amos is saying here. One day it will be like that. Yeshua is working it out. Heaven and earth will meet. He draws up water from the oceans and pours it down as rain on the land. Yahweh is his name. When they say new heaven and new earth, people don't understand. Something will change drastically. After 1,000 years, Yeshua would have ruled this earth and he will renew the surface of the earth. Righteousness will take over. The whole earth will be covered with righteousness. Heaven and earth will become one. Brethren, do not be deceived. Don't listen to what those who do not read the Bible tells you. At the end of the day, they are telling you lies. Finally, let's look at this issue of idols again, then we close. And hear the commandments of Yahweh. God is not idle until it demands worship. Are you hearing that? Gods are creatures of Yahweh. Gods are created in the image of Yahweh. And Yahweh says they are his sons and daughters. That's God's. But when they demand worship, they have fallen. They become what? Idol to be worshipped. They become objects to be worshipped. That those who seek them worship. Yahweh says, do not worship them. Do not bow to them. If they fall, if they seek worship from you. Remember when John was given the book of Revelation, as he was being taken around, the angels that was helping him to see all those things, all of a sudden he marveled at a point. He fell down to worship the angel. The angel said, don't try it. I'm the same messenger. I'm the same servant like you. You should not worship me. Don't worship me. So righteous, true angels that serve Yahweh don't accept worship. But Satan, the fallen angels, they accept, they worship, they seek worship. They are idols. They made themselves idols. Human being that is seeking worship or expecting one kind of glory or honor or adoration or praise. Remember the definition of worship. Anybody that does that is fallen angel or fallen God and has become idol. And as an idol faces Yahweh's hammer, Yahweh's punishment. If an angel or king demands worship, he becomes an idol, as in the case of fallen angels, e.g. Satan, demons, spirits, emperors, kings, popes, pastors, etc. In this scenario, an idol becomes an image, object, or representation of a god used as an object of worship. Anything so much or loved is an idol. A stone or wood believed to exert power, which people bow to or worship. Those stone or those idols or whatever that have becomes something to worship, immediately is, in the eyes of Yahweh, condemned. They stand the judgment of Yahweh. And the tricky thing is that all those objects, images, Satan designed them and allow his spirit, all those fallen evil spirits, demonic spirits, to wade in, to operate in them. And when people approaches them in worship, they do what? They submit to Satan. And in most cases, people say they receive signs, wonders, miracles through all those objects. And that's why people had fallen to so many kind of nonsense, which they bow to, which they worship. And they will wonder about miracle, miracle, miracle. Because Satan stole this idea of miracle, magically doing whatever he's doing to deceive people. And today, people are running miracle or signs and wonders as a ministry. They always say, be warned, be careful, run away, flee from them. It's not from Yahweh. Because miracle does not show you or showcase the way of salvation. Miracle does not give salvation either. So why are you buying to miracle or to something through which you receive miracle? It is the hands of Satan. Yahweh performed his miracle. His miracle is true and great. And when Yahweh does it, you know, you will see his hand. It does not fade. It's not fake. Satan does fake. He uses magic to deceive many to believe that such miracles are way out, even for their salvation. And people think when they receive miracle or signs or wonders, they are on their way to heaven. That is not true. A river, tree, animal can be worshipped because of, a river, tree, animal that people are subjecting themselves for worship. Maybe they are seeking from, way to receive miracle or wonders. Those inanimate objects, at the end of the day, are idols which Yahweh condemns, and anybody that patronizes them will perish. A person or thing that is greatly admired, loved, reverenced, e.g., a sorcerer, is idol, and they have made themselves gods. A football player, a soccer player, in some cases, people make them idol. Why? Because people so admire them. People begin to reverence them. That is how they make them idols. We must be careful who is that celebrity, who you call celebrity. You have turned him to idol. You are an idol. You must be very, very careful so that you don't worship your fellow human beings. Human beings must be nurtured by the word of Yahweh. Otherwise, they themselves become idol. When you so revere yourself, when you so full of yourself, you love yourself beyond Yahweh. Even your husband or your wife or your children, anything that you revere so much, love so much, you admire so much more than Yahweh. Yahweh is a jealous Yah. And in that situation, the person has made himself idol. You love money, idol. You love your clothes so much, you revere it. You love it so much, idol, your shoe. Whatever that is with you, that Yahweh created in this earth. Remember in Exodus chapter 20, Yahweh said everything that you make, any image, any object that you worship, that you bow to, or that you honor, that you admire so much more than him, your creator, you have made such an idol. And the person is going to crash. Yahweh is going to kill the person. Gods or angels are never to be worshipped except Yahshua HaMashiach. For Yahshua HaMashiach, Yahweh made a statement concerning him. He said, but when he again brings the firstborn into the world, he says, let all the angels of Yahweh worship Yeshua. Hebrews 1 verse 6. So of all that are born of human being, Yeshua is the only one to be worshipped. But Yeshua himself said, worship Yahweh. So we worship Yahweh. But if you honor Yeshua, if you glory in Yeshua, if you praise Yeshua, no problem, because Yahweh has authorized that. In the infinite mercy and wisdom of Yeshua himself, he said he's pointing everybody to Yahweh, the Father, who we worship. Amongst Yahweh's creatures, it's the fallen Lucifer, called Satan, and his fallen angels that seek worship. Satan uses human beings, rulers, and those in authority, objects, images, pictures, things one can touch or feel to hide demons and spirits, so that those objects can be made channels for miracles, signs, and wonders to those who are deceived. By these medium, Satan receives worship. It's based on this ploy that Yahweh commands the children of Israel and anyone who come to join the people of Yahweh, who come to serve Yahweh, to never be enticed or lured to bow or worship images, objects, pictures made in form of wood, stone, trees, animals, rivers, human beings, etc. Once they are made object of worship, they become idols. To bow or worship them is not only abomination, but a curse that leads to death. Worship of idols make an individual forsake and forget Yahweh. This is what Yahweh hates. Yahweh commands us, Exodus 23-6, which we read, do not worship, do not have gods to bow to. Do not, praise them, or from your lips, open your mouth and mention their names. Don't try it. If you do that, the person is subject to death. Anyone who serves God in the name of anything other than Yahweh hates him and will be punished from generation to generation. Yahweh vows that he will destroy those who forget him and worship gods. Deuteronomy 8:19-20. We are closing now. Then it shall be, if you by any means forget Yahweh your Father and follow gods and serve them and worship them, I testify against you this day that you shall surely perish as the nations which Yahweh destroys before you. So you shall perish because you would not be obedient to the voice of Yahweh your Father. Hebrews chapter 9 verse 15. Yeshua went through length and breadth of life to ensure that he delivered us. He rescued us from this worship of gods, of idols, of all this and other sins. He led his life and he died that we might be saved. And guess what? Hebrews chapter 9 verse 15. Yahweh provided us a beautiful promise. And for this reason, he is the mediator, that is, Yeshua is the mediator of the new covenant by means of death for the redemption of the transgressions under the first covenant, that those who are called may receive the promise of the eternal inheritance. Are you with Yeshua? Are you paying attention to the word of Yahweh? Do you love the Father? Do you hear his word? Do you keep his word? Do you love him? Do you obey him and honor him at all times? Then that eternal inheritance is yours. Those who love him, serve him, worship him, and keep Yahweh's commandments, Yahweh promised to love them. He promised to bless them. They are blessed of Yahweh already. He will show them mercy and give them salvation. Yahweh will send back Yeshua to the earth to save them and restore them into the promised land, which Israel have been missing. Yahweh will restore them there. It is called second Exodus. And there they will receive eternal inheritance as promised. Exodus 19:45, Exodus 21-17, Leviticus 26, 1-13, Deuteronomy 28, 1-14, Deuteronomy chapter 3, 1-10, Deuteronomy chapter 30, 1-10, John 14, 15, 21, 23 to 24, Revelation chapter 14, verse 12, and Hebrews 9, verse 15. These are important as far as what we have discussed, blessing and curse, is concerned. As far as you pay attention to the word of Yahweh in obedience, blessings are yours. No matter what you are going through, not that there will be no problems or issues of life, but he is there to deliver you because his word is him. He is in his word and he's ready to deliver you. He's ready to save you. He's ready to help you. But when you are disobedient to his word, curse, which is death, follows the person, and in the end, the person will die and will never see life again. Therefore, serve Yahweh and worship Yahweh only. Worship Yahweh through the name of Yeshua only. Remain obedient so that you can inherit the promise of eternal kingdom, which Yahweh has promised all that will pay attention and obey him, even to live in that land when Yeshua will come to restore the earth. So let's do what he commands us to do in Deuteronomy chapter 6, 1 to 5. He said, hear his word, fear Yahweh, worship Yahweh, love Yahweh, and keep his commandments. Then we wait for his salvation. As we do this, Yahweh will bless you. May this be the blessings of Yahweh unto you. May the goodwill and may the blessings of Yahweh that has no boundary be your portion. And when the trumpet will sound, I pray that none of us will be found wanting as we remain in obedience in Yeshua's name. Hallelujah. Amen.